Hi, this is Henry Chamberlain, and I am working on Assignment 3, Scenario 3 for Strategic Operations class. The scenario is Mr. Preston Wood, a new elementary principal in Highland Park ISD, received a call in early September from the Camp Grady Spruce events coordinator. Camp Grady Spruce is where the fourth graders go on a 3-day field trip near Austin every spring that the superintendent highly supports, and the school has been doing for the past 5 years. The events coordinator states that they have only received partial payment and not the remaining payment for the last field trip. Mr. Prestonwood begins to investigate the claim and is informed by one of the fourth grade teachers that Mr. Duty, also a fourth grade teacher, took over organizing this event as well as the school carnival last year. He was in charge of collecting all monies for both events. Upon further investigation, Mr. Prestonwood discovers that $3,000 was deposited in the school account for the field trip by Mr. Duty through the secretary's record, but estimated that it should have been around $13,000 deposited. A similar issue was found for the school carnival. Records indicate that a deposit of $500 was made by Mr. Duty, but it was estimated that it should have been approximately $5,000 based on attendance records kept by the PTA president who collected the tickets to the event. As the leader, how do you deal with the situation? The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to double check all the records, specifically talking to the PTA president, anybody else who was keeping records, such as the secretary, because I don't want to go around blaming people for something they haven't done. Looking at the legal side of this issue, TAC 19, Amendment 19 of Chapter 247, Educators Code of Ethics, 247.2 Code of Ethics and Standard Practices for Texas Educators. If you go down to B, Standard 1.2, the educator shall not knowingly misappropriate, divert, or use monies, personnel, property, or equipment committed to his or her charge for personal gain or advantage. I was kind of going through the SBEC, the State Board for Education Certification, or SBEC. I was going through their frequently asked questions, and one of the things it says is if you have not already done so, you should share your concerns with your local school board and district administrators. And I found it interesting in the question, it actually says that your superintendent is really excited about this fourth grade field trip that you take every year. So I think before I take any action, legal action, after I've looked to see if there's any discrepancies or if I can find where the money is, I'm going to contact the superintendent first before I go on to contacting the police or any other entities. And I'm going to allow the superintendent to take care of the situation. I did go on through the SBEC and saw where the superintendent has a section where they can, in writing, submit a formal complaint against an educator for infractions towards the code of conduct for teachers. So I'm sure that's the next step my administrator would take, my superintendent would take. I also contacted my principal on this because he's a great resource, and Lubbock ISD has a HR department which is run by an assistant superintendent, and so if that was the legal way to go, going through HR, going through them, that's the way I would go. That's the way he recommended for our specific district. But that's the legal matters are on it all, and that's the steps that I would take.